Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, where I bring to you a daily bulletin show with recruitment owners, leaders, advisors from around the world who are prepared to give their advice and take on how we can all navigate through COVID-19. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by one of my clients and a friend of mine, Toby Babb. He's the CEO and founder of Harrington Star Group, a FinTech recruitment organization headquartered in London with offices in New York as well. Also, North Star is part of the group, which is the authority in tech recruitment, if I'm right, Toby?
Yeah,
that's right. Cool. It is the authority. But Toby is a guy that he's got a big brand online. He's very vocal and has had a similar journey to probably most of us. So I'm, taking the time out at the minute to talk to me. I'm super, super grateful. So Toby, thank you very much.
No, Sean, listen, it's always a pleasure and really happy to be involved in this. I love what you guys have been doing through this and been listening to all the episodes. And there's been some really great advice that's been shared. So really grateful to have listened to it all so far and really happy to be involved today.
Well, Toby, in true RAG report style, first question, paint the picture. What the hell is going on for you right now?
So look, it's also unprecedented, isn't it? It's a crazy time, and if I paint the picture all the way back to when I started, it was 2000 and good times at that, great time for the industry. We just had the millennium, etc., etc. Recruitment was going crazy. Then all of a sudden it gets swiped with the .com bubble bursting, and you deal with that and you get through that side of things. It hit people's businesses, it hit industry, but it was never, it wasn't quite the same as what we're dealing with now. 2008 then comes up, and that crash was extraordinary to deal with. And then all of a sudden you fast forward to today, and it's just something which is completely unprecedented. It goes back to numbers that are past the Great Depression. It's things that have never been recorded before. It's completely uncharted territory, and there's no experts, despite everyone wanting to be an expert. There's no experts in what we're dealing with at the moment. And I love all the rhetoric around us all being in it together, and everyone's in exactly the same situation. We're all just doing our best and coming out swinging. So, but there's ways around doing things, and I'm amazed that we're so lucky to be having this at this sort of time with cloud technology, with all the the tools that we have in the recruitment space at the moment with Zoom and how that's helped businesses. In many ways, it's just the only time in history where this sort of thing could be happening, because it could be so much worse.
Oh, 100%. I think, look, I came to see you. What was it about? It's the week of the lockdown, wasn't it? It was like I closed my office on the Thursday. I think I came to see you on the Monday or the Tuesday, and we were both speculating. We knew something was coming, but it definitely. I didn't see this as big as it's been.
Well, I remember saying at that sort of stage, the global cases, I think we even said this, the global cases of everyone who had it in the world could have fit into the new camp at that sort of stage.
Yeah.
Why is this reaction coming? And then all of a sudden it's just everything sort of escalates. And, I think at the moment everyone can have a bad day or they can have a great day. You can see things and say people are having knee jerks and overreactions to things, and then suddenly you think, Jesus, I'm glad we did that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It is a period of such volatility that nothing, there is no norm whatsoever to it.
So what was it like at Harrington Star then when it all started hitting? I think you stayed in for a few days after us, the early next week, didn't you?
Yeah, so I was a little bit dogmatic about it, and we had I think we've been in full government lockdown for 5 weeks, is it now, or something like that? 4 or 5 weeks. And we gave people the option, I think, that week that you were in, to say, right, if you want to go home and work from home, you can, and if not, then keep coming in. And I think probably about 50% of us were in the office, and New York went home a little bit earlier than everyone else, and they worked from home. They were slightly ahead of us. And we had people who were working from home and people who were there, and you kind of thought, right, it'll be 10 days and everything will be back to normal, and then it'll be a week or 2 weeks and everything will be back to normal. But yeah, we looked at things. We took a lot of advice. I'm fortunate to know a lot of people. I think recruitment's got very good at sort of creating a community now. I've got some good advisors who are the sort of yin to my yang. I'm sort of very optimistic by nature, and want to think the best of everything. And they sort of bring me back down to earth with some sort of doomsday scenario planning. And I'm I think there's very hard decisions that have been made. We made some cuts quite early and quite deep, which are brutal and very, very difficult to deal with. But I know that what we're trying to do is make sure that we're in the best possible position to protect as many people as we can for as long as as long as this takes. and come out of it, and as we will, with a great business and some really good client relationships from it, and be in a position to capitalize when it comes through. There's that 3 phases of making sure you secure everything, making sure you then maximize every opportunity you've got and get everything we can out of what we're doing at the moment, and then make sure we're there to capitalize on the future and get as much as we can from it thereafter.
From what I understand of Harrington, you're a physical bunch. Like, you're big. You're genuinely big. Like, the whole team's massive. If I go in your office, I feel like a midget, but that's a different story. But you're like this big team of, I think you're like proud guys and girls who like strut around, and it's like, we're doing business, we're doing deals. I feel like you got this physical, like, even the way you guys like play games in the office. Like, you have like American football in the office and all these mad things you do. Like, how have you coped with the whole transition to remote? Because I imagine you guys, it's not like you were against it all, but you were quite, like I say, you're very, very physical, very tight-knit community in the office. How have you managed to cope with that?
Do you know what? It's funny that because you're right, and I do think that's an important part of it. Look, I'm 20 years in recruitment, and I think you sort of go back to the very old school ways of you should be in an office and you should be doing the hours and all that sort of stuff. And whilst we've had people for a couple of years doing some stuff working from home, I've always been in every single day for long stints, and that's how I've worked. And you sort of you have worked from home, but you kind of look suspiciously over the fence at it. But this has blown that to pieces, really. You look at it and you think about the productivity of it. I look at myself and there's 2.5 hours extra a day that I'm not commuting, which have been massively productive, from that. And there's loads of stuff which we can do. The collaboration bit's the interesting thing. Look, I love nothing more than throwing a ball around the office and being in amongst the troops. I desperately miss being around and having the banter and all of that sort of stuff with people. But like I said before, we are so fortunate to be doing this in a technological world that there's been some great stuff. Like Dom has been having fancy dress battles with me every morning on our lineups when we do things. Every single morning we've got everyone around the office meeting. We've been doing little training sessions and keeping people going. We've been pushing points around the WhatsApp groups where people are helping each other out and showing great qualities. There's little catch-ups throughout the day. We've been doing the drinks at 5 o'clock, the quiz nights. There's been little quizzes going around the WhatsApp groups and buzzing through. People are having their own versions of MasterChef that are coming through and all this sort of thing. So all of that sort of, there's loads of little things that we've done just to sort of keep that sense of fun. And I do think that's so important because fun is a key part of work for me. And it's you want to be serious, you want to be the best in the world, you want to be doing things to the absolute best of your ability, but you also want to have a team there that come in and enjoying the battle. And look, this is a battle. This is difficult stuff that people are doing on a day-to-day basis. Someone said it to me the other day in America, that they feel like they're playing a video game. It's the same game, but it's just a higher difficulty setting. Now, I'm not a gamer, but I kind of understand the analogy behind it. And this is what we're doing. We're doing things that are unprecedented. We're doing things. It's so much harder for everyone to be doing their day job.
What are you getting them to do? Is it the same stuff? Have you just said ramp it up, or have you got any? Have they evolved the way they're working?
So I think there's two aspects of this. And look, this morning we did the COVID-19 ways to win new business in this sort of marketplace. And there's no silver bullet. There's nothing there which I think is going to be the key to saying, right, actually, if you do this, here's the secret that no one else knows. I've been through, as I say, 2 difficult periods in the past. And if someone's going to say to me, Toby, what's the secret of getting through a difficult market or a downturn or a recession or what have you, the only silver bullet that I can ever give anyone is you have to outwork it. And the people who are going to work the hardest through this and the people who are going to work the smartest through this and put those two things together, and then just go back and absolutely cream the basics, the fundamentals of doing the job really, really well, staying close in relationships. And look, we can't meet physically. What great relationships about meeting, but Zoom allows you to have those face-to-face interactions with people. There are things there where you can add real value. And if those people, who are going to be the recruiters who come out better at this, the ones who deepen their relationships, added real value to their marketplace, looked at the information they can get through, helped to promote their clients through magazines which they might create, through newsletters and information which they might create for people, through podcasts or videos that they might do for people, through putting webinars and round tables together, and all these sort of things. These are fundamental to adding real value to a marketplace. And I think that if you are sat there at the moment doing all those sort of things, alongside the very, very basics of making sure you are listening to what your clients need, you are taking a job spec that is the absolute world-class job spec, you are acting with speed and efficiency to deliver, you're boxing things off on exclusive and not necessarily looking for too much contingency work, and you're just thinking all the time about where it is, and you spread that thing. That, look, sales is all about shaking the tree, and the harder you shake the tree, the more apples are going to fall off it. And I think right now this goes back fundamentally to the old school values of, look, if you're making 15 calls and saying I can't get hold of anyone, you've got to make 150 and 10x it to get yourself to that sort of stage. And that shows spirit, that shows fight, and that shows character. And I think if you've got people who've got that with you, you're going to be all right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's ways in which, you can support that on top of just making calls, but you've got to, it's about doing everything you've ever done faster, harder, and working harder than you've ever done. What are you looking for in your team from a qualities perspective now? And you've got to look in the eyes of these people every day on Zoom, and what are you looking for to ensure that not only are they performing, but are they okay as well as people?
Yeah,
that's important.
Yeah, that's a really important part, because look, people are in all sorts of different situations. There's people there who are with their families. There's people there who are on their own. There's people who are really comfortable and introverted, and there's people there who are extroverts who are craving that sort of interaction and attention. It's really difficult. Look, I know that some people are in situations where they're being well looked after, and there's people there who are finding it more difficult, and we've got to rally around those people and support it. What are you looking, the first part of the question is what you're looking for in people when you're there at the moment is good. There's a lot of talk at the moment, isn't there, about good vibes only and positivity always wins and all that sort of stuff. There's nothing else to be that. You have to celebrate every small win. This goes back to when we were in an office of 3 or 4 of us with no database, no clients back in 2000. And we'd celebrate a callback, being able to call something, that felt like a win, that felt like a deal. And I think, that starts to exacerbate itself, and you're looking for people who are, wanting a better expression, to give a shit about each other, to help each other out, to be supporting, to look at it. And I love it when I'm seeing people who are putting on our WhatsApp group about how they've been helped out by someone else and giving star points, as we call them, for each other. And those star points get rewarded for when people have their eyes on the rest of the team. This isn't just about you. This is about you helping someone else out and recognizing that sort of thing. And I think one of the things that's really come out of this is to realise how cool the team are. I've got people here who I love to bits, who are just really working hard for each other and doing a fantastic job. And that's the bit there, and making sure everyone's all right, and making sure everyone's getting out and getting healthy, and trying to get keeping themselves sane throughout all.
That is a difficult thing, though, isn't it? Because you can't force your team to be exercising and stuff, but you want them to. I mean, even at Hoxo, we've got a mixed bag of, some people are up running and others aren't, and everyone's to their own. But I mean, I personally, I'm taking this opportunity to get in the best physical and mental shape I've ever been. I think, I'm training every day, I'm eating better, I'm not drinking, I'm doing all these things to go. Well, I personally don't think I can afford one bad day right now. Before, you could have an off day. Now I can't have an off day. I'm on it every day. I've got to be as productive as I can. And that comes for me from exercise.
Yeah.
But it's not from one of my team was drinking a virgin pina colada on the 9 o'clock stand up today. And I was like, what the fuck is that? I was like, are you drinking a milkshake? What is it? She goes, no, it's a virgin pina colada. I was like, if that gets you up for the day, brilliant. Estimated coconut in your drink. I mean, for me, I was like, what is that? But it is about, I think what we've realised is a couple live on their own, and that is a different dynamic.
Yeah.
There's, you've got your kids, that's a dynamic, and then you've got the people who've got no interaction other than Zoom, and you think, I don't know, I feel for everyone in their own unique circumstance. What's it like for you, Toby? I know you've got kids, you've got dogs, you've got the wife, you've got a busy household. What's going on?
Yeah, fortunately they're out walking those dogs at the moment, but any minute now there'll be, those doors will fly open, there'll be barking dogs and crazy children and coming back through. So look, there's positives to it. I've done now for 20 years, 14, 15 hours a day out the house, and there's, if I'm going to take real solace from this. It's great to spend a little bit more time with them and seeing them come through and eating meals with them, and seeing them when they're not in bed. When I get back from work. So it's been, from that aspect, it's been 5 weeks that we've been in now. It just seems to have gone like that.
It does.
It's incredible. But they've been there. Homeschool starts tomorrow, so it's going to be really interesting to watch that as it comes through and see my Wi-Fi gradually disappear as they're on their laptop.
How's it going to
I
work?
have no idea, mate. That is
Is the teacher running? Is the teachers running like Google Classroom?
They've got Microsoft Teams for the girls' schools, and Charlie's got something that's my son's got his stuff coming through as well from online things, and they've got time with their teacher. It's all quite regimented. So again, look, it's one of those amazing things that right now you can do stuff which you've just never been able to do at any other sort of stage and keep this ticking. But from the tragic circumstances that we're in, you got some real positivity from it as well. So
how are you balancing though the time with them and then getting the kind of productivity head down and not being interrupted?
I'm here. So they're little slugs. So they're all in bed, till later, and I get in and sit down at my desk at sort of 6:30 in the morning, and I'm on it straight away. They know not to come in and interrupt. I've been on it full stop, and the productivity is just massive. And I'll pop out every now and then, make sure everything's okay. I'll grab lunch for half an hour with them, and then we're back into it. And then come the end of the day, they've just my youngest is just really nailing the cycling, so they go up and down the road, and I stand out and make sure they're not getting run over. And then we go in and have dinner. So it's and I get back on it after that. So it's just good to to see it around, and I hear some occasional shouting and screaming and crying through the windows. Pop my head out and make sure no one's killed each other, and then we're back into it.
Yeah, it sounds. I've got the dog Henry. I've not got any kids, but I'm just enjoying seeing my wife with him because she never saw him. She literally was going to the gym about 6 a.m. and then coming back in the day when we were out, and then coming back, and then by the time we come home, she'd be out, and she got home about 10 at night. So she didn't really bond with the dog apart from the weekends, and then it felt like it was my dog. Whereas now, like she's with him now in the living room, and he sits with her now. Like he used to sit on my lap, and now he sits on. I'm getting a bit jealous.
You're lost.
Yeah, I feel lost. Well, it's been a dynamic. Like there's so much that's come out of it. What I want to move on to is the future of recruitment.
It's interesting.
Let's look at Harrington. Like, how do you see your agency evolving?
So look, one of the things that you get out of this is you recognise that there's efficiencies that you never had in your business that you just no one likes to think of themselves complacent, but I think that almost every business in the country, in the world, will look at it and think, Jesus, we could have done things so much better from this. We could be so much leaner. We could be so much fitter. And I've looked at this, and there was some hubris and ego around some of the things that we had in terms of, if nothing else, than headcount. But also just some of the things that we were doing, and I think there's so much better investment that we can be doing with our money. And we get so busy, don't we? We look at things and we get so busy in the BAU of everything as it goes through, that we recognise that there's things there that we should have done and should have changed and should have impacted sooner and quicker that just don't get done because you're so busy. And I think sitting back and analysing this, there's so many things there that we're excited about, so many projects that we want to get involved in, so many different ways of growing in different ways, and how we impact things. There's some really, really exciting things ahead of it. And I think we've been talking about communities and putting people together and adding real value. We've been talking for ages about the whole concept of inbound marketing and how that sort of helps, and how you have much better sales teams. We place a lot of salespeople in software, and you've got hunters and farmers and all these sort of things. And we've just been doing the same sort of 360 recruitment with a couple of twists on it at various different stages. And I just look at efficiencies of how you add value and put propositions to customers, how we can completely reshape our website and our go-to-market and marketing. Look, we've had some, alongside with massive help from you guys, had some big wins in what we've done with our marketing, and won some decent awards across the industry. But I look at it and just think about how far that can go and how we can make sure it's, we do a lot of work, and I think a lot of people do a lot of work on marketing and then don't actually think about the conversion and linking it really closely to sales. Yeah. And the thing that I really want to work on this is to say, right, we've got this powerful machine that comes through that feeds the sales teams and allows them to nurture and convert, and really puts this lead funnel into it. And I recognise that I always think of recruitment as e-commerce, and you look at Amazon in particular and think about how good they are at saying people like you also bought this, and we think you'd be interested in this, and segmented content and delivery. And there's I bought some training gear over the years from England Rugby, and they put stuff in you, and they hook you in with the content that they do. They put great stories and great information out, and then you start looking at it, and all of a sudden you bought yourself another pair of training shorts for some reason, or whatever it might be. And it's clever. Tesco were the masters of all this with Clubcard and how they sort of engage people with what they're doing. And I really, really want to see our business evolve into a very, very strong business that allows us to find business development in a completely new, completely innovative sort of way that really does what we've always wanted to do, which is be the horseshoe in the glove, the Superman's cape that allows people to to do their job that much better.
Sorry, Toby. We're not going to edit this out, but my doorbell is ringing. So this is how, the real life COVID-19 podcast is shot in my bedroom with the door. It's probably Amazon ringing. So my wife's
as if on cue.
Literally, Amazon listened to you and went, yeah, we'll deliver. He has some arrive every day, which let's not get into that because it's not fun. One thing we did chat about the other day, and I've been thinking a lot about, is this whole premise of, growing teams and how you grow teams with, I'd say, the kind of traditional model of going bottom up, bring as many juniors in as you can, train them yourself. They will pay you back in years to come. I think it's great, and there's still a place for it. But at the same time, if you look at the world we're moving into, and you think how much time your top people spend then managing juniors, not being as productive, not spending as much time on the face with relationships, not speaking to clients, not speaking to candidates. You're like, coming out of this, do you want to be in a position, or do many agencies want to be in a position where they're leveraged that way? Or do they want to have a smaller junior base, a bigger senior base, the odd associate, rather than having this massive grad scheme or academy scheme, and having marketing, brand automation, latest tools and tech, driving more business to the guys that can actually convert it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. So look, recruitment is a funny thing because we've been sat in an industry for a while where it's run in a very similar sort of way, and we've got relatively similar billing per head over the course of a 20-year period, and massively increasing cost. The cost of a consultant was, so I think my first salary was 14,000 quid, and now you're lucky to get 30 grand. But you build, people generally bill less than you were doing at that sort of stage. So this diminishing return is something which really needs a jolt and an arrest within the industry. You look at how people generally come in, and there's big churn, as we know in recruitment. There's people who come and go, and and it's costly because you put someone into it who's never done the job, and there is a very high likelihood that they won't be able to do it. Those are the facts behind it if you don't recruit well. And within that, people have ever decreasing shelf life of their loyalty to a business. So, and what you have is people there who represent your business and are talking to clients who have none of the experience from it. So we have this inverted pyramid that you just spoken about, where you have your most experienced people speaking less to your clients, and the least experienced people talking to that. And I think that needs a fundamental shift. I'd like to see. And I think this sort of gets you a little bit back on the tools and starting to have senior relationships at senior levels, and really flip that on its head a little bit. Now, does that mean that you just have small teams and of highly experienced people? I think that becomes back to the whole lifestyle sort of recruitment. That's a way of doing it, but there has to be scale to have value. So how do you get that scale? How do you make sure that there's a stream of business that comes in with people who are really looking at senior relationships and converting and maximising those, but then also bringing in the right technology, and not just technology. You can spend money left, right, and centre on a whole load of crap if you want to, and not get any back value from it. But how do you harness that technology, add real value to your customers, utilise inbound marketing and all the various things you can do around that, and take everything further forward to turbocharge your business. So I think there's going to be a shift, and we're looking at that and having some really interesting conversations at the moment about what it looks like. Do you grow through, as of before this crisis, there was 40,000 recruitment companies in the UK. A lot of those will be in distress at the moment.
Yep.
There's the opportunity to bring a few of those in and help cement them and grow a bigger business with a franchise model or whatever it might be to support that and build a brand. There's so many different things that you can look at, so many different ways of globalizing, which, when you've seen how quickly you can access new technology to get an entire workforce working from home now, to have people in South Africa or Asia or Australia like that is something which you suddenly have a completely different perspective on where you want to go. So look, I'm not going to nail my colours to the mast and say, right, this is what the new world's going to look like. But I can tell you that over the next 3 weeks, I'm going to be looking at every single opportunity and objective that we can to really make something that's fit for purpose and do some of the cool things that we've been talking about for a long, long time, and say, right, let's look at that, let's really stress test that, and we could come out with something that's genuinely game changing and really, really exciting and giving people a much, much easier job with much, much higher return from it with proper business. The professionalization of recruitment is something I've been really excited about for a long, long time.
Yeah, you've always talked about that.
Yeah, I think this is just where we can really future-proof it and add value and have that sort of man-machine working in harmony to add real value to customers. That's very exciting for me.
What do you think? Well, what's the FinTech world been like? How have they reacted? So we know I've been talking to recruiters all day, and they've all got different sectors. But you do a lot in FinTech. You're well connected. How have those organisations evolved and adapted to this?
So look, there is uncertainty for everyone, right? And that doesn't matter whether you are in nursing, as I've spoken to some people, because you've got different problems of supply as opposed to demand in that sort of space, or tech. The fact is that tech is one of those things where people, because of for all the things that we've been talking about right now about how people can interact, there is need for it. And if financial technology comes under that banner, but you've got to adjust and pivot, and they're doing the same sort of things, and it's meant that there's been a bit of a freeze, and there's been drops in hiring as people are trying to work out the future. But just to have the ability at the moment, and so many companies are able to onboard and take on and interview, and actually never ever met someone who can be working for them, is an extraordinary thing to be thinking about. And we've got loads and loads of clients all over the world at the moment. We're hoping for 2 placements in Singapore this week. For a major exchange, stock exchange, who won't have ever seen those people and might not have them in their office for another 3 months, but they'll be, they could have been working there. And who'd have thought that? Who'd have thought that was a possibility? So, it's robust. And we're, as I say, one of the things that I've mentioned a couple of times is we're really lucky about the timing of all of this sort of thing, because it's allowed people to continue, not with BAU, but with a new normal that allows people still to be doing business. And there is business out there, and I've used that analogy about the video games earlier on. It is a harder playing level, but we've got an opportunity here to do some really good work if we follow those basics really well and add real value to people.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. What does the personal life of Toby Babb look like after this? Are you going to go in every day? Is it going to remain as it was, or would you evolve, take some of the stuff you've got used to now with you?
Yeah. I was speaking about this to my brother-in-law early on. There's massive productivity gains, I think, from doing a bit more. Do I see myself in the office every single day? Look, I might change my mind when I'm back in it, because I love it. You mentioned it right at the start of the conversation. I love the cut and thrust of it. I love talking to people. I love being with the team and having that sort of camaraderie of it. And that's a big part of me and what I've been about. So moving that back is going to be difficult. That said, if I can whack out a couple of hours a day, once or twice a week, and have a little bit more time here and be more productive alongside that by the same rationale, it makes sense to be able to do a little bit more with that as well.
I was thinking the other day how businesses could do it, and you got 2 ways of looking. If you kind of all took the same day from home, let's just say you had coronavirus Fridays, even when coronavirus is gone,
the
whole business works at home on a Friday. Like, that would work because everyone's used to it.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is you don't save anything. So you've still got to pay the rent. You still got to have the desk for everyone. Whereas if you could potentially have a sort of a 2-shift type pattern where half people work X in the office, or everyone's on some kind of shift where, you could end up downsizing your cost by 30%, for example, by having a smaller space. What do you reckon?
These gains that we talk about, right? Because it's absolutely something you can look at, that you can have people who are you can have people who are working from home. You can have people who are in the office. You can work it in shifts. But the thing is for everyone to know each other. And you look at some of the, we work a lot with consultancies, and those people will be out, and then they suddenly have a day where everyone's together. It's always bemused me, from just having always worked in a team with everyone in it. I look at consultancies who can be on site, and you can have someone there who's working, for an oil trading business or oil trading consultancy, but be on Shell all the time. So how do they actually have any affinity to that initial company? And they might all be in the office on a Friday or whatever it is like that. And it's learning those sort of things where it might be, and saying, right, okay, you have a couple of days where you're all together. I think it's difficult when you look at the model of bringing in junior people and training them, because they need to see that stuff around them. So how does that work is something you've got to get your head around a little bit as it scales. But I definitely think that there is, there's definitely going to be a lot of deals on office space coming up, that's for sure. But there's also going to be those opportunities there to say, right, can you do it a little bit differently, and can you, move these things around a little bit to be more productive? I think, I would be very surprised if there's not.
Agreed.
Moving forward.
Toby, I'm going to ask you one final question, which is, a lot of the RAG listeners, I'd say pre-COVID-19 anyway, were you kind of junior, not started yet, or were still in the early stages, like the first year or so. What would your advice be to those guys? You've been through a lot in the past. So you said 20 years in recruitment. If someone's listening and they've not got the same level of experience, but they don't have advisors and things, there's a lot of people out there. What would you say to someone who's wants to make it through but is a little bit uncertain?
No, it's the same bit I said about the silver bullet earlier on. There is nothing you can do. If you're sat at the end of this and say, I could have done a bit more, then you shouldn't be in it right now today. This is always, as has always been my key. It's the same advice I give to anyone who says, well, I'm about to start in this. What's your bit of advice for me? What can I do? Is you can be someone who is the hardest worker in the room. Or you can be someone who's a follower behind it, and you come in for a lifestyle. You come and do a job, or you come in to make it your passion, your obsession. You try and do it. For those people who are going to be grafting through this, there's a massive future for everyone, because that work rate will stand them in good stead for absolutely the rest of their career. This is almost like an ideal time for it to happen for people, because you can learn so much, you can be so much better, and you're gonna hone skills that are going to last you your career and make you 10 times better when the outturn. There's such an opportunity coming for people right now. People are going to be in such a good spot over the next few years as they start to come through this. It's going to be, we don't know how long it's going to be difficult for, but what we do know is it will recover. And if you can get through this and work your way through this, you're going to be a superstar recruiter as it comes through.
Agreed.
There's so much pain. But I just say, look, the simple advice is replicate the basics time and time again. There'll be people there who make 20 calls a day, and there'll be people there that make 100 calls a day. There'll be people there who do X amount of posts, and there'll be people who do 10 times more than that. The people who are going to thrive from this are the people who outwork it and shake the tree more than others. And that's all you need to think about in that thing. Just be very difficult to beat by outwork.
Well, I mean, that's kind of part of the personal brand message I've been putting out recently. It's like, consistency wins. Like you can have a great post. Anyone can do one post that gets a lot of views, and you've got to be doing it every day. You've got to be putting it out there. And that moves into quite nicely what I'm doing. So I'm whilst Hoxo is still the same, our agency is still managing brand for clients like yourselves and doing all these campaigns. I'm launching a second arm, which is the Hoxo Academy, in the next 2 weeks. So by May, we're going to be launching a personal brand service for recruitment owners to begin with. We will look at recruiters and marketeers down the line, but the first cohort is going to be going on a 16-week program where they're going to work exclusively with me personally and some parts of our team, where I'm going to open up the bonnet of what I've done for the last 3 years to go from a recruiter to building a 7-figure business exclusively inbound through building brand online, right? And the number one thing, whether people work with me on it or not, I'll be talking about is consistency. Yeah. I've got loads of ideas. I've got loads of methodologies. I've got loads of things that work and theory behind content. But the key is always going to be how much you do, how regularly you do it, and how and even when you're feeling like shit, even when you've had a negative bit of press, or even when you've had no engagement, going again. Like the amount of people I see making one video and then giving up. It's like, if you made one phone call as a recruiter, you give up. You get out of the company. It's exactly the same. So That's something that's coming out, and I just agree with you, mate. I just think the attitude of not having you can't afford a wasteful day. You've got to go for it right now. There's no alternative. And we've got the time. Everyone's got time right now. We can't say we're busy.
Yeah.
What I always ask, I know you will. Anyone wants to reach out, you're happy to talk, right, on LinkedIn or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I'll make sure you're tagged in this post. I've wanted to, because we had Nadia on the original rag. I've been waiting. I will still get you in for a full-blown episode, Toby, when we're back in the office, and we'll talk about the whole Harrington story, because I know a lot of people want to know more under the bonnet about you. But on behalf of the listeners, I just want to say thanks. Appreciate your time.
Absolute pleasure, my friend, and good luck with everything.
Nice.
See you on the other side.
We will do. So, guys, that's another episode of the Rag Report podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do me a favor. I don't ask for any money to listen to this, but I do ask for one thing, which is share the episode. That's WhatsApp, text, email, whatever. Send a pigeon with the Rag Report tied to its legs if you need to people in the industry that you think would benefit from this. We want to get as many people listening. I'm getting messages every day on LinkedIn. I'm tagged in posts now. People this is helping, and hopefully the more people that listen, the more people we can help, and the stronger we'll all be when we come out of this, because we will. I'll be back again tomorrow with another take on what's going on. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.